I have a lot of thoughts about Albert Hammond Jr.'s latest album, Melodies on Hiatus, but a lot of you probably aren't going to hear it. And by that I mean the album and what I have to say, because his album has not really been getting much attention according to YouTube, which is very strange because, hello, it's Albert Hammond Jr. from The Strokes, but when I click on like one of his visualizers, it's still under 1k likes, and I know it's not all about the likes, but it's just very weird to me. Usually Strokes fans are very dedicated in each individual stroke that they will like go listen. Oh, new music, I don't care if it's solo stuff, anything. But this album just does, I don't really know about the statistics based on Spotify because I don't have Spotify anymore, but I'm judging that based on my dad is loved the last album, Hammond Jr. album. He has rarely played this one. So I think this is very telling. It was actually two concept albums, I believe. And I mean double albums, which is a first for him. And I guess he wanted to try something different. Good on him. But this was definitely one of his like most deeper albums. It's not to say that the last one wasn't. Francis Trouble was definitely family-centred about his twin who died at birth. He was supposed to have a twin, but they have a word for that. I can't be bothered to search it up right now. But yeah, so we would have, who knows what would have happened if we had Albert Hammond Jr. and his identical twin. What would that have been like? Obviously there would be no Strokes, but yeah, I guess it's a good theme to centre an album on. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Melodies on Hiatus. Now, after listening to this, I was like, I believe that Albert worked with a co-writer on this, she's like more of a mainstream sort of songwriter. I don't know who she's worked with exactly. I obviously can't be bothered, but the album basically took place over the phone where they would share individual stories to each other and sort of like incorporate them into the album. And so I think that's a really cool way of writing an album. I'm guessing due to the pandemic and things, being isolated, that was like probably the best way they could write the songs, or some other reason, I don't know. But even despite that, the lyrics are just very like, you can tell that they took place on the phone, because it's just like sort of, I think Albert even says in interviews, it's a bit more of a therapy session for him, because a lot of things happened in his life during this time. I believe his parents got divorced, which is obviously, it's like, parents don't usually get divorced at that, like in their 60s or 70s. Maybe it happens, but it's just not something you usually think about, you know. So that was, but even though obviously he's grown up, he's a grown man and he's moved out of the house, obviously that did play into his mind a bit. And so in the song Memo of Hate, I believe that song is in reference to his parents' divorce. But as for most of the other songs, and some of the songs could definitely be about his producer or whoever worked with him on the album, most definitely, I'm not denying that. But these lyrics definitely did make me think that this album is mostly about Julian. And I know, wow, it's just a shocker. Like most of my videos are about, theories, number 1 and 2, blah, blah. But I do really think that, and I've always thought that since I listened to this album. I just think that, and I wouldn't blame him, honestly, for making this album about him. I know he's being very careful not to, like, obviously explicitly mention who these songs are about. Obviously, that's none of my business. But this is just purely what I think, and my interpretations I do think are correct, because he is being purposely, I think, very, quiet about, or keeping his mouth shut about what these songs could be about. And I obviously, I'm like, go for it, do what you need to do, and if you don't want to say stuff because it's personal. Obviously, he doesn't want to like cause huge drama between him and Julian, but it definitely makes you think, doesn't it? After all that's been happened and proven on the internet, basically about this man, his friend, who went on to become the lead singer of the Strokes and now is the subject of behaviour that I don't necessarily agree with, and it's probably not illegal. But then again, it's still not. I don't think it's the right thing to do, and I've always wondered what the band members have thought, and I think this is Albert's way of like telling the world that whatever way we act on stage isn't really what's going on behind the scenes. And even though that can feel like very obvious, I genuinely don't think the fans really see it that way. I think a lot of Strokes fans especially like to think that, oh, this band's just going to be together forever. And I'm not going to say that they're breaking up or anything like that, but I do think there's just this element of like happy-go-lucky, and it's okay to be positive, and definitely okay to support the band, and I would love to still support them, but he's not really based on what these lyrics are saying. I just don't think there is a strong connection as compared to obviously the way he used to be with him and Julian. It could be a multiple of other factors. Obviously, they all getting older, they all personalities change, and life directions change. And obviously, Julian has said he's felt more closer than ever with the Voids, his side project, than with the Strokes. And so obviously, times change, people change, that's just life. Nothing is permanent. But I just really think we have to take a look at these lyrics, because I originally did, as you do, I went on Reddit and posted, hey, does anyone think that when the album first came out, I was like, hey, does anyone think Albert's new album is like a directly about Julian? What do you think? Maybe I'm wrong, but hit me up in the comments below if you think so. And then all of the comments were like, this is why we don't analyse lyrics or some fucking stupid rubbish like that. And obviously that's a stupid argument, because who the fuck listens to a song without analysing the lyrics? Obviously someone miserable. Of course you're going to look at, obviously the lyrics don't matter in some songs, it's about the melody, but everyone will still look or listen or examine the lyrics at some point, because you still want to get an idea, unless you're blind, of what the song could be about. Like obviously if you're singing a song, you want to make sure you're singing the right lyrics, or you want to interpret the song for yourself, but also see what the songwriter was thinking when they wrote it. And I'm definitely not alone in that, but I just think that Reddit users just have a huge problem with like just considering that something can just be someone else's opinion and not think, oh, this must be the fact. Anyway, enough of that. We're already at 9 minutes already. Fucking gosh. So this song, I didn't manage to screenshot the titles of the songs, but I'm sure you'll work it out. Even though you know that you never said it right, I don't want you to know, not just to be polite. If you figured the words, you wouldn't let them go. If you worked up the nerve, you'd say it like a joke. I don't know why time won't let me go back twice. I know that's bending the rules, but don't that work sometimes? I don't want you to ask what I'm doing here. 19-something and 9, that was a different year. Now here it seems to me, this is a song Darlin'. For me it feels like he's referring to maybe like the early days of the Strokes, like that longing for nostalgia that a lot of us have that we didn't get to endure, and the band. So I'm guessing like he's being deliberately, like, we don't know the exact year, so it could be 1979, it could be 1989, it could be 1939, who knows. So I think the secrecy is like a huge part, or this like sort of mystery is like a key thing in this album, because I think that's how much he doesn't really want people to know that this is what he thinks, which to me is very interesting. Maybe that's just how his brain works. He just wants to protect his friend that he's had for so long, and obviously he owes a lot to Julian over the years. Julian certainly owes a lot to him. And apparently Julian sung a bit on this album, so I just think maybe this is, like, whether he's aware of it or not, like, this is a direct, this, if the last album was centred on one person, that was Albert Hammond Jr.'s twin brother, then my guess is this album is going to be centred around, obviously, Julian. Like, each album has a theme, and I totally think that's a good idea. And then the song Darlin' continues on to say, go ahead and go. I've got nowhere to be. Go ahead and perform your personality. I just want you to know that if you don't come back, I don't want you to change. I never felt like that. So I'm not going to ask you to apologise. Think you might have mistook me for a different guy. Why did I say mistook just so differently just then? Sorry. Mistook. Yeah, so this is, to me, is just reading as, oh, you thought I wasn't going to just condone that behaviour. Well, guess what? I don't think the same as you anymore. I'm not going to, but I still won't obviously act on it. I'm not surprised. I'm not going to be like, you have to freaking apologise to me because I expect this from you. I know this is what you're like, so I'm just going to, like, try and brush it aside, but that doesn't mean I'm still happy with you. So it's sort of like, seems like this defensive argument maybe that's going on, perhaps between him and Julian, like, so that's the end of that. And then what I find really interesting is towards the end of the song, he goes on to say, just a lie that you told with my name in quotes. There's always something in me that comes around too slow. Have to let you go now. I have to let you be. Sorry, a yawn's coming. Oh. There was some part of you that never wanted me. That won't happen again, and I can take your blame. If you were reading my thoughts, you'd see the ways I've changed. That was somebody else living another life. I think it's time I left the thought of it behind. And so I really think we've got to focus on the first line, which is just a lie that you told with my name in quotes. And so that could be referring to maybe interviews that so-and-so said, obviously, something about Albert, or or maybe something Julian has said to the media about Albert, like obviously in like promotion for their album, and it just obviously does not, it's not the way he sees things. And obviously it's important to note that I'm not saying that every song on this album is about Julian. Like, there's definitely songs that are most specifically referring to his beautiful daughter, Holiday, I believe, who's he makes these nice little songs for her, like Libertude on the album is about her, I think, and All Right Tomorrow. the last song on the album, I'm pretty sure, is direct reference to holiday. Like, I don't think some lyrics like washing the windows, you make me happy, is gonna be about a bandmate. It's nice that obviously he put a few songs that have got nothing to do with it, but mostly to me it's just sort of a disappointment at a friendship that had thought to have been blossomed, but then realised it was just nothing this whole time. And I haven't obviously been in a friendship for that long enough to like confirm that or like have seen that from outside. But if you're in a career as long as the Strokes, and then a lot of things happen along that way, and then you come back and then just see that, oh, he's not the man that he used to be, or what happened to just all these years of whatever between us, you know. I think it's more of a self-reflection. But yeah, my voice is very croaky today, I know. And then the very last verse of Darlin' is, no use in me calling for you, I bet you forgot my name. And yeah, that just seems to me like just a person you thought you knew but doesn't really seem to know anymore. Their paths have kind of like just moved away they've just drifted away from each other over the years to the point where they're just unrecognisable. They're both lonely, and they can definitely both. They should still be able to be friends because there's just so much that's there, but it won't come back, and they won't see it happening again. So yeah, what a very positive song, if you ask me. And to me, the song that broke my heart, if that's who it's really about, is the song Home Again. And I think that's definitely one of the best songs on the album. It's got the most beautiful lyrics that I've ever heard from Mr. Albert Hammond Jr. Or whoever co-wrote it with him. Because I do think this could be a reference to Julian's ex-wife, Juliet. Because on the new Abnormal, there was a song that Julian mentioned her directly. He said Juliet's name on Brooklyn Bridge to Chorus, and at that time it was like obviously a huge big deal because people just found out that Julian had divorced his wife for 15 years, I believe. And obviously it was a great shock to people who had like admired their relationship from afar, or people who'd known about them or whatever. I obviously did not know much about them at that time. I was still discovering the band, but so a lot of people theorising, oh, did Julian write this after that he got divorced, before he got divorced? Why would he choose to keep it in the album? Like, what is this supposed to mean? Does he still have feelings for her even after the divorce and leaving her for a younger woman or whatever? So yeah, that was a conversation for quite some time, at least that I know of. But then our theories were all like put to an end when at the concert Julian said, lyrics change when you get divorced, when he played that song live. So instead of singing Juliet, I adore, he sang lyrics change when you get divorced. So clearly this song was made before the divorce, but they just probably just decided to keep it in there because a lot of these songs on the new Abnormal are definitely just references to Juliet, and so it's not really going to make a difference if you just take the lyric, change it or something else, because the old lyrics are like basically about a failed marriage or whatever. So I did mention that Albert Hammond Jr.'s parents broke up, but I don't think that is just mostly mentioned in the song Old Man. I think that's just a direct love song to Albert's dad or something, because his dad's obviously old. He's a man, and yeah, that I think that, like, I'm sure he's not going to be that upset about. Well, I guess a divorce for anyone is difficult, but this song to me just speaks like the fact that Julian's marriage just completely deteriorated. Obviously, I don't know the whole story, and I probably don't need to, but these lyrics are heartbreaking. Because if I had the keys to the man that I used to be, I would see some good in me, and I'd swear I'd never leave, no. This would really work in some... I've got to stop here because this really works in some poetry. It's really beautiful. You could say it on a open mic or something. It's really natural from the heart. Anyway, back to the lyrics. I want to come home again, can I? That's what we do, come home again, if it's the only reckless thing I haven't done. And the very last lyric, I was like, there's no way. That the very last lyric is what made me think, oh my God, this has to be about Juliet. Who else could it be about? Then I knocked and she said, hun, I used to know him, but he's gone. He's up above. It's sad stuff. He could have been someone I loved. That is really, really, that speaks volumes. And, this divorce was definitely not easy, I can imagine. Because, it's... Divorce is hard. So I've never gone through it, but it seems hard. And so much, I've looked through so many forums, probably unhealthy for my taste, but just finding a lot of stuff that's being swept completely under the rug, and these old rumours, but it's just... You feel like you do need to find things out when lyrics are like this, I think. And another song, they all have very, very interesting names, Fast Kitten. That song is I heard that and I was like, kitten? Why would you put the word kitten in the song title? And then I was like, Sex Kitten. Is this a reference to Sex Kitten? Because thanks to Steven Pinker, the intellectual philosopher, whatever you want to call his work, I would have never heard of the term. I'll you want coming. The Sex Kitten. And he wrote that in that book. He referred to, I distinctly remember, because I was like, sex kitten, what the fuck does that mean? He was referring to Marilyn Monroe as a sex kitten. And for the first time ever, I decided to search up today what it meant for this video. And apparently Bridget Bardot was one of the first ever to be called a sex kitten, which is a sexually ambiguous woman or aggressive woman. Young lady, I'm guessing. And fast, I guess he used the word fast for the title because there's a song, obviously, Slow Animals. And a kitten is an animal, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong, you could correct me on that. I don't know too much about animals, but based on what I know of, a kitten is a baby cat. And I think it's a reference to Slow Animals because Slow Animals is basically about a dad who's really worried about his daughter because she growing up, obviously parent is really concerned about their daughter being around men, especially older men, and what they could do to them, and like that song to me was like, when I heard it I was like, wow, this is such a thoughtful song. I didn't think the Strokes could get that deep in their music. To me, they've never seemed like aggressive people in that field. Obviously they put out songs like New York City Cops, and but that's still kind of like a fun song. I don't think it's supposed to be taken too seriously, so to hear something like Slow Animals, which came out exactly a decade ago, and thinking about me like being really young and really vulnerable, and like me and my sister being little, like, and our dad was kind of not in a good place at that time, and so that he could still look after us, but so all those thoughts just made me think, wow, this song's really powerful. And I'm pretty sure Nick co-wrote it, or it's Julian or something. Maybe he wrote the whole thing, so technically maybe Julian didn't even write it at all, because Nick has a daughter, and so he probably dedicated that song to her, because I think it's just such a heartbreaking song, but so hopeful at the same time. But just seeing it now, listening to it now is just really depressing, because the lead singer is just someone who has just completely devalued the song, and he's just turned into one of the characters they're warning the listener about. Like, they're always scared of where their daughter's been, because she could be alone with men, and the fact that person has turned into one of those that's direct subjects of that song is very disturbing to me, and it's just, yeah, a real shame. So I think Fast Kitten is a way of Albert saying, like, hey, Slow Animals was a song we made, but it didn't really age well, judging on what my bandmate's done now. And so I think, yeah, that's just sort of like Albert saying, yeah, that it's pretty funny to look back on it now, because he mentions I'm no good at these politics, which is like, Strokes aren't really a political band. Obviously that's more the Voids, but I think it's more like jab at, like, hey, we're kind of hypocritical, we're not really about Me Too or anything. We can't really say we support it, because we're still supporting a band member who, like, screws around with all kinds of young women and, like, takes them to his house, and however it works. And so, yeah, the last line is, all we have to do is get the bill. And if for a song that's called Sex Kitten, this is probably like maybe prostitutes, encounters, coal girls, whatever. Just money, obviously, bill. I don't know if you exchange bills with prostitutes, but like maybe some of them need a receipt, I don't know. But it's definitely a sex song, because it's like kittens and stuff. Oh, come on, it's obvious, you guys. How can people deny it? People are just in denial over these lyrics, and at this point it is obviously mysterious, but I do think he wants us to really know what it's about. You know, it's kind of like a desperate wake up call. I think he's kind of, I don't say SOS, but he's like, look, this is happening, I don't really know how to get out of it, maybe you'll try and work it out as much as I am, sort of thing. Yeah, it's just about the Julian and Albert's friendship. A lot of the lyrics are like, they're kind of awkward now. They don't really talk as much as they used to. And their lives are just so different now. But their lives can still be different. They can still work things out, but